Coming to you straight from the heart of Chapel Hill in the 97.9 The Hill WCHL studios from the independent voice of UNC Sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker. This is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
Hand me down the walking cane, hand me down my hat. Hurry now and don't be late, 'cause we ain't got time.
Inside Carolina Live.
You and me.
Joey Powell over there. What's his nickname, Daniel? The Dancing Panda.
Oh.
Is it Panda or Bear? What did I call you last year?
You called me a lot of things, Tommy.
I am a name caller. Nia Satterfield Brown here with us, intern extraordinaire for Inside Carolina. I'm Tommy Ashley, Joey Powell, Daniel Myrick. We are live on Saturday, January 21st. A little bit of a big ball game this afternoon.
A little bit of a big ball game. I love that.
And something that they are doing at halftime is relevant to this show. In the second hour, we'll have George Lynch live in studio with us. Assuming that everything goes as planned, George Lynch will be sitting here, the legendary Tar Heel. Joey, I will say, if you pull it off, that was a pretty big get.
Well, listen, man, it's one of those deals where last week we had Marcus Ginyard, national champion. I felt like we elevated our game to accommodate Marcus, so why would we not try to elevate our game again? You know, we had a national champion last week. Let's bring the people what they need. We're delivering championship level radio here, I say with tongue in cheek. But either way, yeah, we're excited to have George, the basketball team from '93's national championship, be honored, and yeah, a lot of those guys will be back. A couple of them obviously won't be there because they're coaching elsewhere. But, yeah, the 93 team is going to be honored today against NC State for the 30th anniversary of their accomplishments. And should be a nice environment. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. If you're within the sound of my voice and you're planning on bringing someone to the game today, make sure they're wearing blue. Let's not intermingle fan bases for this game today. Let's have a home crowd environment. I think the Dean Dome has been good at times this year. Today's a day where it could really be a good Friday afternoon. You've had some time to visit watering holes. You've had a chance to get properly amped up for this game. It's a rivalry. Let's bring fans of our own similar like-colored attire rather than allowing other folks into the arena.
Yeah, I think the term is called blue out. We should have a.
There you go.
Oh yeah, blue out, 5 o'clock.
There will be some red in that building. There's always going to be red in that building. The question is, how much? And I agree with you. It does not need to be a lot.
You looked at me like I was saying something wrong. I
was laughing because I thought we were going to the Betty White fan rant for a second there.
What? What is that? I don't know that.
I was going to say, do you need a Snickers first thing this morning? You're angry already.
No, bro. I'm trying to encourage people how to make choices about who they associate with.
That is Inside Carolina Live family therapy session and suggestions. No, I agree with you. The Smith Center is going to be on fire today. I mean, it's going to be absolutely.
Did you see that? Open. Like during the last game, they started doing some sort of like Euro disco thing during the last TV timeout. Mm-hmm. What was that all about?
I was like, what is going on here? It was very confusing. I was like,
I felt like I was at a South Carolina football game.
No, for sure.
Wow. Was it a light show?
I don't know what it was.
They did have a light show.
They cut the lights out. I could see that from the broadcast. I mean, I wasn't there, but it will be interesting to see how that is received. I think it's good on them for trying something new. I mean, it makes South Carolina football fans insane. So if you can get some energy for the last stretch of a basketball game, why not?
No, I'm all for the light shows. I mean, there needs to be one over there at Keenan Stadium. They need to have some.
They got to get some lights for that, Tommy.
Yeah, they got to get some.
You start messing with the lights at Keenan, you're liable to have the UConn game.
You have to wait 30 minutes before the lights fire back up. No, and speaking of lights, and it pertains to one of our guests in the first hour, Matt Krause.
Yeah,
play-by-play UNC women's basketball will join us. What's up with the bell tower not being lit Carolina blue after you beat Duke?
That's pretty.
And you beat NC State. Deja Kelly called it out on Twitter.
Good on her.
Good for her.
That's a big gaffe if you're the campus operations athletic department folks. I mean, you beat Duke on your home turf. on TV. And
They beat State the other day.
beat State. I mean, they're on a heck. One of the reasons we're talking to Matt today is because the women are on a heck of a roll. I mean, they had a pretty rough stretch there for 3 or 4 games to losing to good teams, mind you. But they've absolutely turned it up and beating 3 ranked teams: Notre Dame, NC State, and Duke at home, and have looked good doing it. That was Duke's first ACC loss. So we're going to talk to Matt Krause, UNC women's play-by-play, and see if he can't educate us. To my knowledge, Tommy, this is the first dedicated segment to UNC women's basketball. And if it goes well, we'll keep at it.
Absolutely.
I think it's definitely safe to say that tides are changing in the triangle for sure. I mean, the Pac women's basketball was definitely up there, and now knocking Duke off, they are both ranked higher than us. That's definitely going to show that, look, even though our team is small and undersized, they definitely show a lot of grit and strength.
They got some dogs.
They are a close-knit team, and Coach Banghart is just amazing with the team always. And she has a good thing. She doesn't let the reporters in the locker room, so I think that's just shows to show how just close-knit and true to themselves that they are. So
I think an interesting stat that I'm sure you guys know, they've beaten 5 ranked teams this year.
That's strong, dude.
There is one other college basketball team, men and women, that have beaten 5 ranked teams on the year.
I'm guessing it's South Carolina women.
No, it's Alabama men.
Really?
wow.
And that's it. And so this team is, look,
The men's basketball team wants some of that resume.
absolutely. I was going to say their resume compared to the men's is,
Not even close.
it is going to be a fun ride with Courtney Banghart coaching North Carolina. Ross had her on the podcast last year maybe, and hope to do it again this year. And Nia's covering the team for Inside Carolina. So check out her work over at InsideCarolina.com as always. But this is a good basketball team, and they've got a ton of high-level recruits. And to Nia's point earlier, women's basketball in the triangle is pretty impressive. I mean, Carolina beat Duke. Carol Lawson, this coaching Duke, was one of the best women's players ever.
Yeah.
I remember seeing her in high school. I'm dating myself. She came to the Holiday Classic back when it was in Reynolds. As the number 1 ranked women's high school basketball player in the nation there. So that was pretty impressive. And now she's back. And then NC State, of course, I kind of like the spice that's going on in that rivalry. I'm not big on coaches and players having to apologize for digging at a rival.
Yeah.
I will say that.
I hate that. I don't mind saying I don't like. I hate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's part of it. It's fun. And speaking of that, I guarantee you, and North Carolina State play at 5:00 here in the Smith Center on Chapel Hill on North Carolina's campus today. But when they go to Raleigh, whenever it is, I guarantee you Armando Baycott's face will be on their Jumbotron saying "Go Wolfpack."
Yes.
Guarantee it. And I love it. I think it's awesome.
I mean,
that's just part of it.
Good rivalry work, man.
Yeah.
That's the culture of college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it is the culture of fandoms not in Chapel Hill, because they live for that kind of stuff, and I think it
They would rather beat Carolina than breathe.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be an interesting day. A lot to talk about. We'll have Adam Smith as well. Like we mentioned, George Lynch in studio, and you talking about one of the greats.
Yeah. And
we'll talk to him for the full second half of the show. But
Tommy, most importantly, he's my mom's favorite Tar Heel.
I was going to say that.
That matters.
And if I were him and you tell him that, I don't know how I would feel about it, because it means we're all getting old. That was my senior year at Carolina, so I'm the same age.
I actually thought about that when I was prepping the show. I was like, man, Tommy's actually not going to be the old man. We got one of his contemporaries coming in today.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe you said 30 years. And I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It was like 40 years
It was
ago.
last week. Shut up.
So just a fun time. Let's talk about the men. What do we think? What do we think today? We'll talk about it a lot as the show goes on, but I think this game's going to be interesting. I think NC State's a lot better than people want to think.
The funny thing about this NC State team is they actually defend a little bit this year. I think one of the knocks on them since Kevin Keats has gotten there is that he's supposed to be a defensive coach. And they had zero defensive identity for the better part of his entire tenure there. I do think, they've got a backcourt that is at least comparable to North Carolina's. Joyner and Tarquavian Smith will have all of the attempts by the time you get to the under 12 in the first half today. Those dudes are not afraid to let it fly. They score on pace with UNC, and they've got a big body in the middle in DJ Burns. I mean, hate him all you want. He's fun to watch, and kid's efficient with what he does.
I love it.
He's fun to watch. He's so fun to watch. So it will definitely be a challenge for North Carolina. I think for whatever reason, Hubert Davis or Roy Williams carrying over to Hubert Davis seemed to understand that rivalry and seemed to have done fairly well in trying to, I guess, get the team amped up. He'll have to do it today because I think this is the best NC State team that North Carolina has seen in quite some time. I'm going to go ahead and go on record. I was talking with full-time Daniel before the show started. Caleb Love's going for 30 today.
You think?
Here's why. Shooters shoot. He's eventually got to shoot himself out of this thing. He started to do a couple of little things that give me pause. And absolutely, when he's going up against somebody that talks as much and is as effective as NC State's backcourt is, that kind of gets a star going. And so I think if there's ever been a day for him to break out, I think it's going to be today. And just, if it happens, you can say you heard it here first. If it doesn't happen, I never said that.
We didn't hear it here first because if you peruse any of the NC State social media, they're all predicting it.
Of course.
They're all predicting Caleb Love's going off today in the most, quote unquote, NC State-ish kind of game ever for them. But yeah, you mentioned Smith and Joyner and Burns. It's amazing to me. I could not believe that Kevin Keats was retained.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And look, I've seen him in press conferences. I've seen him out on the street. Saw him when I took my son to Hamilton several years ago and spoke to him. He is a nice guy, but you lose 20-some games. Yeah, you can't stay.
That's hard. That's hard to stomach.
And then to NC State's credit, they stuck with him, but also to the transfer portal's credit. He was able to bring in Joyner and Burns and a couple other guys that you can just completely flip the script. I mean, they're 15-4 this year, 5-3 in the conference,
and their losses are to good conference teams.
Yeah, and
to Kansas, by the way, they played Kansas fairly well,
which I thought they were going to win.
They had multiple chances to win that game,
and so you see a team that comes in, and I'll say something that a lot of people these days don't like. I enjoy when local teams are good, because it makes for fun rivalries. That's part of the reason. Yeah, it's fun. It's one reason why I miss Maryland in the conference. And that's not a local team, but that was a good, bitter rival, trash-talking game. Fan base could be awful at times, but NC State being good here locally, I just think it's good and it's fun. It's like it was back in the day when everybody was pretty good, and it made for some memorable battles. Today, I think, might be the same. Now, Carolina, for whatever reason, and Dewey Burke's talked about it, and Sherrell's talked about it, for whatever reason, Carolina just goes off offensively against NC State. And I expect it to happen again today, but I think this will be a game that could be up in the 90s. Just a fun basketball game, Joey.
Both of these teams, like I said earlier, they have the ability to score. They score well. And I think both teams are. I don't want to say North Carolina's feeling themselves. I know NC State is feeling themselves. You read some of their press clippings, and rightfully so. Like I said, they've done well. They've performed well so far. They have not played a lot of tough competition, but again, their losses in the league are to some. And they beat Miami at home last week. Their losses in the league are to some of the same top half of teams that North Carolina has seen. So I don't know if I would absolutely bag on them for maybe being paper tigers, but they've beaten who's in front of them. That matters. And again, they are the best team that NC State has had in, I guess it's 15 when they had C.J. Leslie and those other dudes. I got nothing else as far as their roster, but I remember 15. They were fairly good, and they beat North Carolina, held North Carolina under 50, I think, that game. So it will be interesting to see. I will say North Carolina has a considerable height advantage against NC State. They play three guys that are kind of like that wing guard size. Burns is really their only size down low. So this could be a game where Mondo absolutely feasts on the glass, and he's going to need to. I know he mentioned in his press availability yesterday that he wants to break the rebounding record and the double-double record today against NC State. And it'll be a great chance for him. If he's owning the glass, he'll have a chance to look at that record in the face today. But I will say, if these teams are scoring and teams are shooting well, that's less rebounds for him. It should be absolutely a fun game, like you said a few minutes ago, Tommy. The environment's going to be great, and it'll absolutely be a rivalry that we haven't seen always between these two teams.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Armando said that he faced Burns actually back in 4th grade, and all he had to say, we asked him about a scouting report, and he said Burns is a big guy. So he's definitely going to just kind of have to grapple with that matchup and see how he's going to deal with him in the low post. Burns is a big guy. He's like 280, about 6'8", 6'9" or so. So that'll be a great matchup to see. But I think that he can handle it. And he said that he also is counting the rebounds. So I think we'll see kind of how he's taking them off rebound by rebound. And hopefully we'll also maybe get a celebration when he does eventually break that record, because he said he'd rather do it here at home rather than Syracuse when no one's watching.
Which is a great point.
And see, that's my point about the sauciness and the spiciness is like, don't want to do it at Syracuse when nobody cares or nobody's paying attention.
That's fun.
I mean, I think in games like this, Baycott excels against guys that want to play big boy basketball. He excels against guys like Post last week or earlier in the week for Boston College, guys that want to man up and play rather than try to draw charges and stuff like that. And I don't see DJ Burns flopping on charges. Maybe he will.
I mean, I don't know how a dude that's a moon pie away from 285 takes charges anyway.
Yeah, I mean, so it's going to be a good physical battle there. And so, to y'all's point, Baycott has deferred on several rebounds this season. And when I say deferred, if RJ's there, somebody else is there, he doesn't go get it when his other guy can get it. He's not doing that today. He's going all out. Needs 17 to break Tyler Hansborough's record. Just an incredible career starting 2019, and here we are in 2023.
I think it's also worthwhile to mention that he's such a resilient player. I mean, last week he was out of boot. He was in a boot. He had a sprained ankle. He didn't think he was going to play against Louisville. A week later, he's here today. He's had double doubles. He's on the track to breaking the record. It's just insane, his resiliency as a player, his toughness, his commitment to this program, and just his want to play and just produce for North Carolina. Like, he's up there with so many other greats, and it's truly incredible.
Well, we'll certainly have that to follow. We got a lot to talk about today. Big show. Adam Smith coming up after the break. We've got Matt Krause, play-by-play for UNC women's team, who is absolutely on a tear at the moment. And then George Lynch will be joining us in studio for the second hour. So if you got questions, drop them in the chat, hit us on Twitter, post them in the message boards. However you want to get in touch with us. Again, the best question always gets that $50 Johnny T-shirt gift card. Appreciate you guys being here, making it a Saturday with us on Inside Carolina Live. He's Tommy Ashley. I'm Joey Powell. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
I'm Shimon Williams, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
The Casual Pint is your place for craft beer. Choose among 35 rotating taps. With a wide variety of styles, there's something for everyone. What's your favorite style? Don't quite know? Sample before you select your pint or try a flight today. Wanting to take beer to go? Choose from 200 plus beers in their cooler to create your mix of six, or fill a crowler or growler from the tap wall. All at the Casual Pint, 201 South Elliott Road, Chapel Hill.
All About Insurance is proud to announce an exciting partnership with Cincinnati Insurance, the high-value and high-net-worth insurance company. We specialize in luxury homes and collections such as exotic cars, jewelry, fine wine, and more. Cincinnati is an A-plus rated carrier with one of the best and most comprehensive homeowners insurance packages for high-net-worth individuals. Isn't it time you had the insurance that fits your exquisite lifestyle? Call All About Insurance for a consultation at 919-933-4000 or visit allaboutinsurance.com.
Hey, Jack, if you were to describe us at Alma's Jewelers, what would you say?
Great question, Illy. I'd say we bring the bling.
Well said, my friend. We have so many beautiful pieces, truly the largest engagement ring and wedding band selection in the area.
Bringing the bling means we specialize in diamonds, engagement rings, and wedding bands, and we are on site for custom consultations too.
Alma's Jewelers in Eastgate Crossing is the place for bridal jewelry in Chapel Hill. Alma's Jewelers. The name means diamonds. Let's engage. Online at almasjewelers.com.
This is Hubert Davis, head coach of the Tar Heels. We are excited to see you at the Smith Center again this season, so don't forget to make reservations for you, your family, and friends at the new Sheraton, Chapel Hill, where so many Tar Heel alumni and fans stay for home games and other special visits. The new Sheraton has been completely renovated with all the amenities you need to fully enjoy your time here. Go to SheratonChapelHill.com for our home games and your other reasons to be in Chapel Hill. Thank you, and go Heels.
We all know the sounds of stress, but you may not know that your daily stress can affect you physically. Stress can give you sleepless nights, a pounding headache, stomach pains, or worse. If you've lost a job, worry about your next meal, or having trouble making it through the day, we can help. Text STRESS to 211-211 to find a solution.
The Tar Heels
To the right baseline.
are here.
Floats it way up in the air. It is.
Catch the 6-time national champion Tar Heels in action
He got it. 0.3 of a second.
all season long.
Toward left side. He's going to go hard, heavy. Contact. Got the basket and the foul. Holy cow.
Right here on your home for Carolina basketball.
Countdown to tip-off begins at 90 minutes before game time here on 97.9 The Hill.
Coming to you straight from the heart of Chapel Hill in the 97.9 The Hill WCHL studios from the independent voice of UNC Sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker. This is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
Inside Carolina Live on a Saturday. Getting you ready for Tar Heels v. Wolfpack today. 5 o'clock in the Smith Center if you're getting there. Hey, for those of you who care about such things, your sports information part of the show. Heels favored by 5.5. Total set at 153.5. I get the feeling that it's going to be a pretty high number based on how often these teams score. But a guy that will always score for you because he is the guy that is getting all the buckets and the pressers. Adam Smith. Adam, how you doing, man?
Whoa.
Did you just make an Al Pacino?
I never do that either. I don't know why. That's what you just drew out of me with that, the intro you gave me there. You elicited that from me with the way you set it up there, Joey.
I like the energy, man.
Look, bring it, man.
You've stumped Joey.
Bring it. I'm happy with it. Anytime you can make a Pacino reference and work it in seamlessly as you just did. I mean, that's why you're a pro. That's why we got you on the show. Adam.
That's why I'm old, too.
Listen, last week, the Tar Heels got 2 wins. It was 2 wins they needed. It was 2 wins they had to have. Now what?
Now they got some more games to play. Now it's going to get interesting. What's the stat? I put it in the preview. I think it's 8 straight games starting today against the rival Wolfpack, where UNC will play teams with winning records in the ACC. Now they might not have a winning record when they get to them, or they probably will actually. Some of these, I think it's NC State twice, Syracuse, Pitt comes to Chapel Hill. They go to Duke, they go to Wake, Clemson, Miami, and NC State again in Raleigh. So the rubber is going to meet the road here, and here I am. Call me a Carolina homer. I think this is where we'll find out if Carolina is ready to start becoming the team that we thought that they're going to be. There's still a lot of season left here. Obviously, it's mid-January. There's some challenges coming up, and I think the NC State game today is going to be a good one.
It definitely has a legit or fraud feel to it with this next little stretch, and it will start today. We were talking earlier in the show that the environment should be right. You're not going to get more out of a crowd than you're going to get today. Game starting when it starts, rivalry match, like all of the elements are there for a really, really good recipe, right?
93 team coming back, the reunion.
Absolutely,
people be fired up for that.
There's a lot to get this, to get this stew hyped up to Purdue levels. But one of the things I think that North Carolina has battled with as they've kind of banged through and imped through this last couple of games is some roster health issues. Hubert said yesterday that Jalen Washington would be available today. Mondo played last week, despite everybody thinking the contrary. Pete Nance came back, contributed. So it looks as if the Tar Heels are starting to get healthy. And I know Tar Heel fans that are listening to this are going to knock on every single piece of elm and ash they can find. What's different about this team when they've got all their bodies, at least in their starting lineup, as opposed to when they're trying to cobble things together?
I don't know, which is a great answer, isn't it? And I don't know if they know, because I still feel like the element of Pete Nance. I mean, this guy has played, he's in his 5th year of college basketball. I mean, you can't get more experience than he is. I still feel like they haven't quite figured out exactly, how they want to use him, how they want to get out of him. And like Hubert was saying yesterday when we got a chance to talk to him, he's such a good teammate that sometimes he just wants to fit in. And I took the way Hubert said, fit in as blend in and sort of fade to black. Because think about it, when they played Boston College a couple nights ago, he hits his first 2 shots. He's got 2 threes in the first 4 minutes of the game, and then he did not score again. Yeah. Now, granted, he's coming off the back injury. Frankly, I was surprised to see him play the other night because I felt like he hadn't been making a ton of progress, but I was wrong about that. So he's back now after essentially missing about 4 games. He only played the first 2 minutes of the Wake Forest game in early January when he got hurt. And, I think they're still trying to figure out something there, because when you bring in, let's say, a Puff Johnson at the 4, or you play different lineups, you have a little bit of a quicker lineup than you do with Nance out there. You have a little bit more a more athletic lineup. Now, I think Nance is a good passer, obviously. I think he gives you a lot, but he doesn't give you the same things that some of the different lineups do that you can run out there. So I'm not sure exactly who they are when they're fully healthy, because you didn't have Jalen Washington for the first 9 games of the year, and you got a glimpse of what he's able to do against UVA and against Louisville. DeMarco Dunn was hurt for 5 games after he broke his hand. And he's been playing well lately. So it's just been sort of this, in and out and in and out. And I think that's something they're still trying to figure out. Hubert said that him and Pete sat down and had a long talk this week about how he wants him more aggressive. So I think that's for a team that, you just never saw some of these things coming, obviously, in October and early November. But I think they're still trying to figure out some of that aspect of the roster and the lineups. I think they're still trying to figure that out.
Adam, we talked a lot on the beat, and it's been point of discussion is, with injuries, you have to build the depth. And Hubert Davis has played. He will bristle if you say he doesn't play the bench enough, or if you question that. And he's played a lot of guys, but are we at the point when if everybody's healthy, that Dunn is really your 6th guy? Do you think he's sort of taken over that role from maybe Seth Trimble or even Puff Johnson? Assuming the matchup is right. Now, Hubert plays the matchups more than any Carolina coach ever, and we've hit on that a lot.
He's situational. Yeah, he's situational with the subs. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
so is Dunn that 6th man? Is that fair to say, or is it going to continue to be, whatever's needed at whatever moment? But because it seems like Dunn has certainly supplanted Seth Trimble as the as the guy, as the main guy they need, especially from a scoring aspect off the bench?
I mean, I personally, not that Hubert will ever ask my opinion on who to put in, but I like DeMarco Dunn. I like what he gives them. I think Seth Trimble is a fine player too, but I mean, Seth Trimble cannot shoot. He just cannot shoot. Now he's a fantastic athlete, and he's a great defender. I mean, he between him and Leaky Black, they have to be their two best on ball defenders. But yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what you define a six man is, because does that mean he's the first guy up off the bench that gets subbed in, or is he the guy that gets used the longest, or is he the guy that has the best stats even if he doesn't get used the longest? But I definitely think that DeMarco is coming, and I think that he really gives you a nice element where he's about 6'4", I believe. I don't have his height right in front of me. I think he's about 6'4", and he certainly plays with energy, and he can bring it on the defensive end. You saw how well he played against Ella Ellis last week at Louisville. He was really instrumental in slowing him down as fast as Ellis started. He crashes the offensive boards. Sometimes he gets a running start onto the offensive boards. You see him jumping off 2 feet. He's up there around the rim or over the rim. So I like DeMarco. I like Puff. In the roles and the spurts that you can use those guys. And I'm not trying to knock Seth Trimble, but I think DeMarco can give you more than Trimble, particularly with his offense. I mean, he's knocking down open threes now.
Yeah, I mean, and Dunn plays defense. And to your point, he gets those rebounds. He gets a timely rebound every game. Let's swing back to Pete Nance. I don't know if what we're seeing now is just simply not it's his final product. He's going to, the discussion about him being more aggressive and Hubert saying he needs more and Baycott. I found Baycott's conversations with you guys yesterday interesting when he said, and I'm not quoting, but it's pretty close, said he needs to look for his shot. It ain't like everybody else does.
He's hilarious, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, he's hilarious.
But I mean, at this point in the season, we're January 21st. They played how many ball games? They played 19 ball games.
This is 20th game today.
This is the 20th game, halfway through. Yeah. Is Pete Nance just not what he is? And if he needs to be more aggressive, in your mind, what's that mean? Does it mean getting 10 or 11 shots?
I think it means, I was looking at his numbers the other day. I was trying to help our colleague Ross Martin write his story for him. And you know what I forgot? I mean, I just completely wiped this from my memory. He had 28 points in that game against Portland out at the Phil Knight Invitational.
It was unstoppable.
I completely forgot about it. You guys remember that one? For some reason, I don't. I don't know if it was the jet lag or what, but I think him being more aggressive, I think that just means in spots, Tommy, because if you're UNC, you want to run your offense through Armando Baycott. You need to run your offense through Armando. I mean, that's what you have to do. And you would like him leading you in scoring as he is doing. And then, Caleb Love and RJ Davis, like Armando said, everybody else is going to get their shots. You might as well too. I think it's kind of what Armando said yesterday. It's like everybody's shooting. You ought to, there's no reason to be shy. But if you look at the way the scoring is distributed, you got Armando averaging about 18 points a game. Caleb and RJ have scored the exact same number of points this season. They're both 16.3 points a game. And then you have Pete, I think, is averaging about 10, 11 points. And I agree with you. I think that's just going to be what it's going to be. Now, he's capable of getting you 16 points. He's capable of getting you 18 and 20 points. The Pitt game, weirdly enough, at Pitt on December 30th, when he hurt his back, he had scored like 8 points in the first 9 minutes of the game. I thought he was going really good, and the way Pitt was defending people, I was like, well, Pete's going to have about 20 points this game. But that didn't happen. But I think him being more aggressive means when it's your time and you have the opportunity, go ahead and get it. But I also think, I think they can be okay. I think if you just get 2 or 3 more shots from Caleb Love to go in, I think you're going to be all right for UNC. I mean, they're 8-2 their last 10 games, and he's not playing very well at all. I think if you just get a few more shots from him to go in, and I think one of Nance's strengths is that he has not tried to show up in Chapel Hill and show out. I think one of his strengths is that he is a good teammate, and he tries to keep the ball moving, and he's willing to do the little things that maybe a grad transfer wouldn't be willing to do. Sometimes the grad transfer stuff doesn't work out, but I think he's going to be okay. I think if he can stay healthy, he's going to be all right. I think, who knows? Maybe I've been fooled, but I think UNC is going to figure this out. I don't think we've seen Carolina's best yet. And I think at some point we're going to see Carolina's best, and it's going to be pretty good.
Speaking of that, last question, we'll let you get out of here. We're talking with Adam Smith, beat writer for Inside Carolina. Adam, what can North Carolina do today to help neutralize NC State's offense? Because there's one team that scores as much in the league as North Carolina does, and that's the team that's going to be wearing red today. What can North Carolina do to try to keep that down?
Great question. I think that's the question. And interestingly enough, these teams have both played 19 games on the season, and Carolina has scored 1 more point than NC State has. I mean, they have scored the exact same number of points. Now, for people around UNC basketball, if you point this out to them, will tell you, well, NC State's strength of schedule is in the hundreds, which is true. That's true. But I don't know. I think I'm really looking forward to watching this game today because, Terquavian Smith is a fantastic player. And, he's probably going to get 20 points, but I can't wait to see what Leaky Black and company, I think you got Leaky, you put on Terquavian Smith, and I think you come off the bench with DeMarco too for him and see what you can do against him. He leads the ACC in scoring. A guy to watch out for the Wolfpack is Jarkel Joyner, the transfer from Ole Miss. And we mentioned it in the preview today. He's sort of been the victory barometer for them. He's averaging 18 points a game in their wins, their 15 wins, but only 12 points a game in their 4 losses. And he's shooting really poorly in those 4 losses. He has been really good in their wins. He's been really good for most of the season because NC State's playing well. But when they've lost the game, he hasn't been quite as productive. You've got the 2 highest scoring backcourts in the ACC playing in the game today between Terquavian Smith and Jarkel Joyner and RJ Davis and Caleb Love. So I personally think that the Wolfpack is not going to be able to handle Armando down low. I just don't think they have anyone who can match up with him. They do have DJ Burns, the big Winthrop transfer that's like 6'9" and 275. He's just a wide body with a great soft touch down there. But I just think Armando can go over him. You saw Armando on Tuesday night against BC. He decided he was going to go around Quentin Post, the 7-footer for BC. He wasn't going to go over him. He was going to just actually use his quickness and get past him. So Armando, it's kind of silly to say it because he had such a great year last year, but he feasted on the Wolfpack last year. They have Burns and they have several guys who are basically like a Leaky Black size, like 6'8", 6'9", and like 215. Some thin guys down there. NC State got a really good game from Ernest Ross last week when they beat Miami, and he's a skinny dude. I think that's the matchup Carolina can exploit, and I think you're hoping the guards cannot get in foul trouble trying to keep up with Joyner and Casey Morsell and Smith and just break even there. And I think if you're UNC, you feel good about what you can do around the basket.
Absolutely. Well, Adam, we appreciate you, man. Have fun covering the game today. We'll look forward to all of your content as soon as you get to the arena and then thereafter. But thanks for joining us here on Saturday morning.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it, guys. You guys have a good one.
Hoorah! That's Adam Smith, beat writer for InsideCarolina.com. We appreciate him joining us here on Inside Carolina Live. We'll be right back. We talk with Matt Krause, play-by-play, talking about the UNC women's team, who is stalling right now. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
It's time for the Carolina Players Spotlight, presented by Hawthorne and Wood and Bluebird.
RJ Davis, point guard from White Plains, New York. My favorite part about life in Chapel Hill is walking through the pit, interacting with the fans, students on campus, and just being able to walk through that tunnel every home game.
RJ, which do you like better, lunch or dinner?
I like dinner better because it's more filling, and I'm able to go right to sleep right after. My theme song is Just Wanna Rock by Lil Uzi Vert.
I just wanna rock. I just wanna.
The Carolina Players Spotlight is presented by Hawthorne and Wood and Bluebird, casual fine dining in East 54 and Menomont in Chapel Hill. Proud to feed our Tar Heel heroes. Find more Carolina Players Spotlights on chapelbro.com and by listening to 97.9 The Hill, your flagship station for Tar Heel sports. Go Heels!
Thank you, Bluebird and Hawthorne and Wood.
If you're more than someone who just checks the scores, I want to introduce you to the place for Tar Heel sports, discussions, analysis, and breaking news. Inside Carolina has been the center of the Tar Heel sporting universe for over 20 years, with a team of the best UNC sports reporters around, unrivaled insight, and a vast message board community for round-the-clock discussion with other Tar Heel fans. Your game day begins and ends with InsideCarolina.com.
Armand Lynchek of Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry and Walson has also been a veteran blues guitarist.
As we were traveling, I'd see a little house set off in the middle of nowhere in the middle of a cornfield. And I was wondering, who lives in that house? Why do they live in that house? Just being interested in how the people lived, it's just always translated really well into real estate. It's the same thing. Taking care of my people so they can achieve their dreams.
For more information, go to teamarmand.com. This is Officer Ferraro from the Carborough Police Department, reminding you to make locking your vehicles and taking any valuables inside your home a part of your nightly routine. Make sure you bring any extra key fobs inside your home as well. You work hard for your things. Don't let someone else take them away. If you see something suspicious or need police assistance of any kind, immediately call 911. Thank you, 97.9 The Hill, for caring about our community, and we hope everyone stays Carborough safe.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
A little sabotage action from the Beasties. First thing on a Saturday. That'll get your blood flowing. Tommy, something else will get your blood flowing. When you had the idea, like, hey, let's talk some women's basketball today, I'm like, you know, that's a great idea. You're like, hey, let's get Matt Krause. I'm like, all right, let me see if I can do that. Well, we got Matt Krause, a man of mystery. But if you've listened to any Carolina basketball women's games, you have heard Matt Krause and the great work he does for Courtney Bankhart's squad, who are just absolutely killing it right now. Matt Krause, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks so much for having me on this morning. I don't know about being labeled as a man of mystery. Hopefully, I'm here to be able to help solve that mystery a little bit, you know?
Well, either way, we're happy that you're making some time for us, man. And one of the things we want to start with is, you know, it was a rough couple of weeks there right around the holidays for Courtney Bankhart's squad. But I tell you what, they're absolutely kind of finding their legs. And is it too basic for me to say it starts with defense with this team?
I don't think that's too basic to say at all. You know, this is a team that last year really hung its hat on the defensive end of the floor, holding nearly half their opponents a season ago under 50 points, which is pretty remarkable, especially teams that came into Carmichael. And then this year, based upon some personnel changes in the offseason, and, you know, as cliche as it sounds, every year being a new year, it just took some time for things to gel on the defensive end. And, you know, you can kind of write off some of the disappointment coming off of the first loss of the season against Indiana and how tough of a game that was defensively. But I think it was the game against Michigan in the Jumpman Invitational where things were exposed a little bit in terms of how Carolina was playing on the defensive end of the floor. And from there, with the start of ACC play, the commitment to being more active on defense
switching up, whether playing player to player or utilizing various zone looks. It's not just one kind of zone that Courtney Banghart's employed. The defensive end of the floor is finally coming together, and as a result, it's now 3 straight ranked wins at home, allowing a program record, only an average of 51 points per game over the course of those 3 wins. So defense is really rolling right now.
And obviously with defense comes offense. And I know they've struggled from a shooting perspective in the first half of these last 2 games, but how much of being able to turn that defense up and kind of find a little bit of an identity there is making them kind of a battle-tested team now? Because we were talking about it earlier. Tommy mentioned when we first opened the show, they've got, along with Alabama men's basketball, they have the best resume of college basketball right now with regard to how many top 25 teams they've played, and now they're starting to beat them. So how much of being able to play that defense against a high caliber opponent is really going to set them up for success down the road?
I think it's incredibly important for success down the road. I mean, just going back to last year again, you look at the Sweet 16 game against South Carolina. Obviously, the Gamecocks won the game en route to the national championship, but Tar Heels were the only team to play them within 10 and really flummoxed the Gamecocks on the defensive end for much of that game. And then going into this year, that experience allowed the returning players to understand, okay, we can shut down some of the best teams in the country. And as you alluded to with the Alabama men, it's now 5 ranked wins for the Carolina women's basketball team out of 8 games played. So not only have they played a bunch of ranked teams, they've beaten them as well at an over 50% success rate. So being able to kind of foster an identity, because, and I think you alluded to it right there, this team still is a work in progress, especially from a shooting perspective. There are players that can get hot from 3-point range. We've seen it at times this year, but there's no one player that you're going to circle on the scouting report if you're an opposing team that says, okay, this is a bona fide 3-point threat. And so the Tar Heels have to get creative in ways in which they're able to score. And, the less pressure that you have on the offensive end of the floor because of your elite defense, you're going to be set up for success. So it feels more than anything like an identity is finally being fostered. And this team knows, okay, we can use that identity to win these grinded out kind of slugfest, low scoring games.
We were talking to Matt Krause, UNC women's basketball play-by-play guy, and just a great radio voice. I mean, we have these folks on our show, and I'm like, God, I wish I had a voice like that. I mean, here I am talking on the radio, and then I hear different voices, and I'm amazed. But so, Matt, appreciate you joining us. I wanted to ask you, I wanted to dig into the roster a little bit, but I want to ask you about North Carolina women's basketball in Carmichael. I guess Carmichael Arena now. We all grew up with it being Carmichael Auditorium. And the Smith Center is going on 40 years of age here in a couple of years. But to be able to go into Carmichael and to have the students in there and to have it packed out, what is that environment like for people that, quite frankly, have forgotten it when it was the men's place to play way back 85 and beyond?
Yeah, I think it's the perfect size for women's basketball because, at least in my opinion, an arena that's full, regardless of size, is going to create a better atmosphere than, say, 12,000 folks in an 18,000 seat arena, whether that's at the college or the professional level. And, Courtney Banghart really leans into the history of that building. The locker room that the women's team uses now is the locker room under the stairs that the men's team utilized back during the days of Michael Jordan. The door that the players walk out of from the locker room to take the floor is the exact same door that the greatest to ever play walked through. And she is very aware of that, and it's a major selling point, and the players are aware of that as well. And it's just taken a little bit of time to be able to get the fan base on board, to be able to understand how magic a game can can be watching it there at Carmichael. And I think last Sunday against NC State was the perfect confluence of events, right? You've got a traditional rivalry, one that's been played for nearly 50 years. State's been really good of late. They've won the last 3 ACC tournaments, yet even though they've been good, Carolina's had success against them in recent memory, including players on this team. And then you also combine that with the fact that this team is on a run of success, coming off a Sweet 16 berth, ranked in the top 20 in the country again this year with time in the top 10. And then the fact that this roster is just so likable. And you put those three factors together and you get people that want to show up. You get a lot of families that come to Carmichael for a Sunday afternoon game. It's just a really convenient time. It's a little bit cheaper to attend compared to a men's game, and the quality of play, as we've seen, has been really, really good. And the student section as well. The Carolina Fever's done a tremendous job showing up. The student section moved this year from the bleachers behind my broadcast location to behind the north goal. So now that's a little bit more visible on TV, and they did a tremendous job on Sunday. But honestly, guys, what impressed me more was the Thursday crowd against Duke. Thursday night at 8 o'clock is a tough sell tip time wise, right? It's not 9 o'clock, so you take what you can get. But Thursday at 8, coming off of an emotional game where so many people came out on Sunday, the crowd exceeding 5,000 and the largest student crowd for women's basketball in Carmichael history, really, really impressive. It made a difference, and that the old building's starting to come to life again.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. And I had a son in that line to get in the student line, and he texted and he said, "I might not get in here." And I was like, "What are you talking about? You got to go earlier." And he was like, "It's never been like this." And I was like, "You better get in that building." And then of course he was able to, and just said it was just unbelievable. It's cool for me to be able to have him see Carmichael like we've talked about, because it was a special place. Looking at the roster, everybody knows about Deja Kelly. Everybody knows about Kennedy Todd Williams. Give me somebody that maybe people need to pay attention to more on this team. For me, it's Paulina Paris. But from your standpoint, who on this team's as important as those players are that maybe is not thought of as important?
Here's a name for you. It's Destiny Adams. She's a sophomore from New Jersey, 6'3", listed as a combo guard forward, kind of a swing player on the roster. And while she's had some solid offensive games throughout this season in terms of big scoring numbers and reaching double figures and all that, her activity and ability to be competitive on the defensive end is so critical for the success of this team. She's always been a hustle player. She's always had that energy. Last year as a freshman, it was tough for her to harness that and turn it into the combination of that energy and refined basketball skill. So as a result, she didn't see as much playing time as perhaps some might have projected for her right from the get-go. But she worked so hard in the offseason to improve the basketball aspect of her game. And on the defensive end, with blocks, with getting in gaps, with always trying to make that extra hustle play to maybe force a jump ball, something that you may not see in the box score. Destiny Adams is all over the floor defensively. And as we saw Sunday against NC State, a little 8-0 scoring spurt for her late in the fourth quarter to be able to put that game away. The three-point shot might not be pretty, but it's effective. And so that's something that's only going to become more refined with time. And her jump from freshman year to sophomore year and this team's success this season, those two aspects are not a coincidence. They go hand in hand.
Hey, Matt, beat writer intern Nia Satterfield-Brown here speaking to you. I just wanted to ask you about Alyssa Utsby. She's obviously been a playmaker for the women's basketball team. She had career-high 18 rebounds against State last weekend, and she had 5 against Duke and had just a great point. So just can you tell me about her as a player, just her resiliency and just her ability to put up points, grab the rebounds, and just be a true playmaker for Courtney Binghart and the team?
Yeah, that's a really good point that you bring up there with Usby. She is continuing to improve each and every year. Coming in as a freshman 2 years ago, she felt she was underrated. And like Destiny Adams, Alyssa has just a tremendous motor that you see on the defensive end. Her size, while it may be a little bit shorter than some of the players that she's going up against in ACC play, allows her to be a favorable matchup for Carolina at the 4 spot when you combine the size and athleticism and her want to. And rebounding is all about positioning and pursuit, as Courtney Banghart likes to say. And her want to on the glass against State was evident. And then the best thing about Alyssa's game, in my opinion, is that not only is she a force on the glass, but then she has the ball handling skills, even coming from playing the 4, that she'll grab the rebound and she'll take off and go herself, or she'll dish it off quickly to a guard and then sprint down the floor in her own right. But what I've seen this year from her as a step forward is the ability to take smart shots and create her own shot. She has what she calls the Dirk move, the little fadeaway, paying homage to Dirk Nowitzki. And she's able to create her own shot in the low post. And you just look at the fact that she shot over 50% from the field in all but I think 5 games this season. She just continues to improve both ends of the floor and one of the most fun players to watch in all of women's basketball.
Absolutely. It always helps when you've got a post player that can clear the glass and then trigger the break or lead the break on her own. And that's something we saw against NC State and against Duke this past week. And Matt, listen, man, appreciate you making time for us on a Saturday morning. If you're up for it, we'll probably do it again down the road. Sound good?
I would love to do that, guys. I love the fan support for this team, love the coverage, and it's a really, really exciting time to be affiliated with Carolina women's basketball. Thanks so much for having me on.
All right, he's Matt Krause, play-by-play for the UNC women's basketball team. Courtney Banghart's troops are absolutely just killing it right now, and it's been a fun brand of basketball to watch. I've had a chance to see them play a majority of their recent games, and again, they had a bit of a struggle around the holidays. They were playing against some ranked teams and just coming up short, but they have absolutely ripped off 3 ranked wins in a row and are just looking good and looking like they're having fun doing it. So make sure you guys get a chance to check them out if you see them on anytime soon. We're going to take a quick break, be right back. We're going to have George Lynch, 93 champ, NBA vet, all-around good guy, in studio with us in just 1 second. Listen to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
Yo, this is Denoris Cersei, Carolina alum, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live. Let's go, baby.
Hey, Tar Heel fans, here's your chance to be a VIP at a Tar Heels basketball game. Alumni Hall, your ultimate UNC shopping destination, is giving away 2 tickets with VIP access to the sold-out UNC Clemson game on February 11th, plus a $100 Alumni Hall gift card. Come to Alumni Hall to get the best and largest selection of Tar Heel gear and register to win in-store or online at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where heels shop.
Your car is smart. It keeps you in your lane, helps you navigate from place to place, and maybe even drives itself. Don't you think it deserves a mechanic as smart as it is? At F&F Automotive, the team is ready and equipped to handle any need your car may have. Foreign or domestic, car or truck, F&F is constantly updating their technology to keep up with the demands of today's vehicles. F&F Automotive, value and integrity in everything we do.
Mac Orthodontics is in the business of making people smile with confidence. Here's Mark, the happy parent, with more.
When I came in, the first thing I noticed, everybody was really nice. It was just everybody smiled. It was a real smile, and I liked the environment. He had a great personality, and he actually talked to everybody. When you need braces, it prevents you to smile the way you want to. But he's smiling all the time now. Teachers are talking about it. He's always smiling.
Mac Orthodontics in Hillsborough and Burlington. Start loving your smile. Learn more at macortho.com.
Have you been to Mosaic at Chatham Park? It's an entertainment and lifestyle destination just a hop, skip, and a jump from Chapel Hill in Pittsboro. Mosaic has an amazing lineup of events now through December. The calendar of events includes Wellness Wednesdays and an exciting lineup of Friday night concerts and movies all at the Mosaic Family Commons. Bring a lawn chair and a blanket. Food and drink is available for purchase. Check out the complete event calendar at mosaic@chathampark.com. It's more than a place, it's a feeling.
I'm Hank Hill, and I sell propane and propane accessories. I think I've done pretty well.
Talking about that dang old 401k, man.
And that's Boomhauer. I used to get my financial advice from him.
Man, talking about that dang old Bitcoin and penny stocks, man.
Dang it, Boomhauer, that was terrible advice. Thankfully, John Stillman at Rosewood Wealth Management helped me fix my mess. If he weren't my friend, I'd hug him.
Dang old Hank and I ain't real, man, but Carolina Wealth Stewart is doing business at dang old Rosewood Wealth Management as a real registered investment advisor in the state of North Carolina, man.
If you've been driving up and down 15501 lately, you've probably noticed the beautiful Gwendolyn building in Glen Lennox. I'm Casey Hargrove, Member Experience Manager for Industrious, where we believe that the right workspace and community can drive your business forward. Industrious's thoughtfully designed workspaces, all-inclusive amenities, and unmatched hospitality offer members the ability to focus and collaborate. If you're interested in a flexible workspace that supports companies of all sizes and stages, check us out online at industriousoffice.com.
Hi, it's Jones Angel, voice of the Tar Heels, and you're listening to your flagship station for Tar Heel sports, 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, Chapel Hill.
Coming to you straight from the heart of Chapel Hill in the 97.9 The Hill WCHL studios from the independent voice of UNC sports, covering everything from Amos to Zwicker. This is Inside Carolina Live. And now the hosts of Inside Carolina Live, Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell.
Oh, that was Adam Smith coming back in on the air with a shout out. Welcome back, Inside Carolina Live, second hour here in WCHL studios. Joey Powell, Nia Satterfield Brown, and Daniel Myrick as we await George Lynch.
Joey, man was going to Breadman's.
Joey, you better come through, man. You set it up. You set it up. It's
if he doesn't, you'll say the same things you say about me every other week anyway. So it's okay.
Lord, somebody's in their fields.
I'm nervous, man. I'm nervous.
Oh, it didn't work out. Saturday, January 21st, North Carolina, NC State, 5 o'clock in the Smith Center. Big ball game. We've talked about that plenty. Shout out to Matt Krause, UNC women's play-by-play guy. A voice for radio.
Absolutely. I've been told I have a face for radio.
I've been told that I had a voice for telegraph when I first started doing this stuff. I was devastated. And then I said, you know what? You're not going to get rid of my shine. You have a face for radio? I think you have a face for something. If you wouldn't wear these hats all the time, we could see your face. I'm going to sell advertising on my forehead on this stream.
That's a big billboard.
Do you see that? It sure is.
It's a massive billboard.
So if you want to advertise, this spot's open, folks. Let's talk a little bit about NC State as we wait for Mr. Lynch. Quavion Smith, Jarkel Joyner, North Carolina, Caleb Love, R.J. Davis. Is this the matchup we're paying attention to, or is this just?
This will be the one that gets all the headlines. I think you're leaning in the right direction. This will be the one that draws all the eyeballs. This will probably be the one that the guys calling the game today want to focus on. I think if you're North Carolina, you're wondering who can NC State trot out there to stop Armando Bacot. And if they decide they want to double Armando Bacot, then the other two forwards, Leakey and Pete Nance, should absolutely have a field day slash into the basket. I don't know how aggressive NC State's going to be trying to double him. If you would think that they will try to keep DJ Burns out of trouble with fouls and send some help that way. But I don't know how there's not a lot of teams in America that can stop Armando Bacot anyway. And NC State's going to struggle, especially if Burns has to move his feet with Armando. I think that's going to work in North Carolina's favor. But to your point, Tommy, I think the backcourt matchups are absolutely where all the eyes will be, and are probably where a lot of the scoring volume is going to come from today for both teams.
When you look at the matchup, I don't know if I think these are you could say they're the best two backcourts in the conference. I'll freely admit I don't watch enough ACC basketball anymore because, quite frankly, it's boring with all the teams.
Spoken like a true old head.
But yeah, I did find it interesting that I think it was Smith after one of their early games said, we're the best backcourt in the conference, and everybody, we don't wear blue, so nobody gives us any credit or something to that effect.
Yeah.
So I think that would be on my bulletin board if I'm RJ and Caleb. But it's interesting, and I want to get you in here on it as well, Nia, after I poke Joey one more time, is Hubert always says it doesn't help his team play any better. And that is a different dynamic than what Roy Williams had, especially against NC State. He wanted blood out of NC State. Hubert just does not go that way, at least publicly. And I say at least publicly because I find it hard to believe that the blood doesn't get pumping a little more and it doesn't get a little hotter when you're talking about North Carolina State.
I think if you look at Hubert's style and other things, which we've talked about before, he's very much of the NBA school in the sense that he substitutes in an NBA feel. He calls plays with an NBA feel. NBA coaches don't see rivalries because they play an 82-game season. Or however long it is. They play a long season, and it's one of those situations where he is going to he's not going to tip his hand a lot. I think even with the Duke games last year and the success North Carolina had in the final match over in Durham and in the Final Four, even then he was very reticent to say anything about Duke specifically. So I don't think he's going to say anything outwardly, but you're not going to make me believe that he has not carried over some sort of desire to really beat them into submission today against NC State. Nia, something I want to ask you is when you're covering your press conferences and stuff, did you get any sense from Hubert that there was some extra jump behind this week?
No, Hubert is honestly what you said. He keeps the same tone. He's just focused on winning. He says if we win by at least 1 point, then we're good. He's treating this game like any other game. So I think the rivalry means something to him, obviously, because he was a player here. He was in the league for 12 years. I mean, he's come back here to coach this team, but I think he's keeping the same mentality of it just being a rivalry, and he just wants to win. But he does understand, I think, the impact of this game. I mean, having NC State having two of the best players in the ACC. Scoring wise, I think Terquavion Smith, he's number one. He's averaging 19.2 points per game. And then we have Joyner here as well, the transfer from Ole Miss. So I think he understands the impact of it and the importance of it, but he's not outwardly showing that this game is a rivalry game, but he definitely feels it. He has to. I don't believe that he doesn't have any type of sentiments about like just being any other game, because it's not any other game. It's the Wolfpack. So
yeah, and look, the fan bases. We talk about. Do the programs react to the fan bases or something to that effect? Yes, they do. I mean, Roy Williams did not like NC State. He made no bones about it. And I get Hubert's approach. Hubert's approach is similar to like Butch Davis was in football. Butch Davis was always like, it's just another game. It's just another game. Hubert's outwardly approaches that. And I certainly get the mindset. But for the fans, the fan bases want to beat each other. And I think, 40? North Carolina's 40 and NC State's 5 over the last 45
It's not close.
games.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous like that.
it's not much of a rivalry on paper.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. The football side could be similar if Carolina could get their act together there. But I think that sort of bleeds over to the basketball because, North Carolina wants to disregard NC State on the basketball side of it and say Duke's our rival. When you hear a fan talk, it's like, it's all about Duke. NC State basketball is irrelevant. It is not irrelevant for NC State.
Well, we're going to shake things up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and take a break. George Lynch is on his way. We'll make sure we get as much time with George as we can. So we'll go ahead and take our first break a little early. We'll be right back. We'll do our IC takeover segment and all that stuff, and he's going to lead us through that with your questions. But hopefully we can get some really good time with George coming in just a second. We'll be right back. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Matt Merletti, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
Get back to the big screen at the newly renovated Lumina Theater, bringing back the magic of the movies to Chapel Hill. The curtains are up, and we haven't just updated the seats and screens. We've seriously upped our concession game with soft serve ice cream, drool-worthy nachos, hot dogs with vegan options, and a variety of beverages, including excellent canned beer, wine, and cider. And of course, the latest and greatest blockbuster movies at the best prices in town. Find our current movie listings and showtimes at thelumina.com.
Are you looking for a different real estate experience? Look no further than VRC Limited. Hi, I'm Randy Voller, its president. My father and I founded VRC in 1995 with a family-oriented vision. The team at VRC is part of the community. So whether you are a first-time home buyer, a savvy investor, someone who wants to buy or sell land, or you need assistance in selling your home, our team can meet your needs.
VRC Limited, the best place to find your home. Online at vrclimited.com.
Come meet us at your neighborhood Flying Biscuit Cafe, located in University Place next to Silver Spot Cinema. We have a 25-year history of serving the South flavorful comfort food. Though we're famous for our grits and biscuits, our loyal guests throughout the Southeast come join us to enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the day. Bring the whole family. There's something for everyone on our extensive menu. Flying Biscuit Cafe at University Place. For more information, visit us at flyingbiscuit.com.
When I think of a hero, I imagine our first responders and of their passion for protecting the innocent. Here at Farm Bureau Insurance, many of my fellow agents share the same passion about protecting their customers and communities. I wouldn't call myself a hero, but I am here to serve Chapel Hill. I'm Robbie Norris. Call me at 910-840-0833 for a quick auto, home, or life insurance quote, and to learn more about how Farm Bureau Insurance can save you time and money.
At Te Contento, we believe food is a celebration of life. That is why our name means Happy Taco, and how we know you will always live happy with our mixed fresh food. From tacos made with homemade tortillas to various rice bowls to our amazing chorizo dip, you are sure to smile when you taste what we have to offer. Come visit us on 15501 next to North China Village on the corner of Eagles Gas Station, or learn more at ta-contento.com.
You're listening to This Morning with Aaron Keck. This hour made possible by Olmaz Jewelers in Eastgate Crossing. The name means diamonds. Let's engage. Online at olmazjewelers.com.
Mac Orthodontics is in the business of making people smile with confidence. Here's Megan, a happy parent, with more.
Very first time that I walked through these doors, I was absolutely blown away by how professional Dr. Mack was. Dr. Mack is such a great guy that you almost want your kid to have a problem with their teeth just so you can come here and spend time with him. He's a great orthodontist, but he's more than that, a fantastic human being. I love him.
Mac Orthodontics in Hillsborough and Burlington. Start loving your smile. Learn more at macortho.com.
Here is Randy Cox, Vice President and Managing Broker of Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry & Walson, the newest sponsor of UNC Sports on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
We value the community. We're very collaborative, and we're here to support our agents and their clients. The fact that we have such a successful sports program, the tie-in with Caldwell Banker, Howard Perry & Walston, the national brand of its own, was a tremendous opportunity for us to be part of something near and dear to the residents of Chapel Hill, Carrboro, Durham, and the outlying counties.
Hey, Tar Heel fans, here's your chance to be a VIP at a Tar Heels basketball game. Alumni Hall, your ultimate UNC shopping destination, is giving away 2 tickets with VIP access to the sold-out UNC Clemson game on February 11th, plus a $100 Alumni Hall gift card. Come to Alumni Hall to get the best and largest selection of Tar Heel gear and register to win in-store or online at alumnihall.com. Alumni Hall, where Heels shop.
Visit the Casual Pint and see why so many beer lovers call us their local cheers. Hang out at the bar to meet new friends and become a regular, where everybody knows your name. The Casual Pint is a great place for a date night or to just relax with family and friends. Catch a game on TV or play one of our many board games from our large selection in our mezzanine. Where will your favorite spot be? Our patio, bar, high top, or comfy couches? Find out at The Casual Pint, 201 South Elliott Road, Chapel Hill.
Tired of paying too much for insurance that just doesn't fit your needs? At All About Insurance, we shop your insurance with multiple carriers to get the best deal for you. Nationwide, AAA, Travelers, The Hartford, auto owners, and more. All About Insurance has got you covered whether you need auto, home, life, health, business, or renter's insurance. We can even cover your boat and motorcycle. Come see us in Chapel Hill at 1289 Fordham Boulevard. Call 919-933-4000 or visit allaboutinsurance.com. One call, we can shop them all. We know all about insurance, so you don't have to.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
2 6-packs of Shiner, 99 cents.
Tommy, I feel a good one coming on.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of which, that's an appropriate song because we're bringing on this is our second week of national champions. And last week we had Marcus Ginyard join us. This week, back in town with some of his teammates, George Lynch from the 93 squad. George, there's no way it's been 30 years since y'all cut the nets down, is it?
Well, if you look at my gray hair,
hey, at least you got it.
It's been 30 years.
At least you got it, man. It was my senior year at Carolina, too. Knew a little bit of a few of you guys. We can talk about that off the air. But what do you remember, like, when guys talk about college? I try to go back and think. 1993, I was a senior at Carolina. I remember they won the national championship. Like, what do you remember vividly from that year?
Man, I remember the type of work that we had to put in. To me, the 2 years before that, with Duke, going back to back, that was all I could remember as far as my motivation going into the season. Just being able to reflect on those feelings. I think we got ousted the previous year by Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And all I could think about was, going out as a champion. Mm-hmm. So between going to classes, the 4 losses between Duke, Florida State, Wake Forest, and who was the 4th loss?
You tell me, because somebody's already asked.
Yeah, 4th loss.
Michigan.
In
Hawaii.
Yeah, it was Michigan. Mm-hmm. Just the type of commitment and sacrifice that group we had to put in. Everyone was counting us out or didn't have us up there with, I think they had Kentucky, Kansas. Mm-hmm. They were talking about the 5-5, and we didn't have the exciting players. We were like, look, to me, I felt all year we had the best coach in the country. Mm-hmm. I also felt that we were prepared and ready to match up against anyone that year and come out victorious. So it wasn't, it was just about us taking care of business.
Do you remember, I guess it was Midnight Madness at the time, and it was right around Halloween. And Heinrich Rodel got up and said, and I remember this vividly because I was there in the stands, and he said, this team could be so good it'll be scary, or something to that effect. And everybody thought, well, you mentioned it, lost to Ohio State. I think they had Jimmy Jackson.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then the year before that, lost in the Final Four against Kansas.
Yep.
And then the year before that, you were on that team. Rick Fox hits a shot against Oklahoma, mm-hmm. and then lose to.
We lost to Arkansas, I think.
Arkansas.
40 minutes of hell.
Yeah.
And so it sort of builds up to the point where you know it, your teammates know it, the national media doesn't know it. What was Dean Smith telling you guys?
Coach Smith always tried to reflect the pressure of being a Tar Heel, a Carolina basketball player, off the players. It was always about something else bigger than us playing a game that we all enjoy playing. So he always somehow, some way made it more about life off the court than it was on the court, because he knew the pressure we were under.
When you think about that pressure, was there pressure? Was there pressure because Dean hadn't had that one since '82? Did you guys feel that? I know Dean did everything he could to.
We didn't talk about that. The pressure for me was watching Duke clip the banners and clip the nets 2 years in a row. And
so that burned in you guys.
Well, I know it burned in me. I don't know what my teammates were thinking, but my summer was, look, we also felt that the ACC was the best conference in the country.
Sure.
So if anybody was going to win it that following year, it had to be an ACC team.
So I want to ask you a little bit. You talked about the things that you remember. Obviously, with you guys, again, it's hard for me to wrap my head around 30 years, but you guys had a lot of beloved personalities on that team in '93. What's something you want folks to remember about that squad and about, what you guys were? Is it something having to do with Coach Smith? Is it something having to do with the fact that y'all did wrestle the banner away from Durham? Is the fact that you guys were the unsung heroes and maybe the workman-like roster that rose above it all?
I think it was more, they talk about family. Duke say the brotherhood. Here in Chapel Hill, I know at least when I first stepped on campus, it was about family. The first day on campus, King Rice, Rick Fox took me on my tour of campus. That's all they preached. So when the guys came in, Hubert was already here. When everybody else came in, the Reese and Sullivan and Phelps, that class, Rozier, came in. It was about making sure that those guys felt the same family atmosphere. So by the time, a lot of kids don't go to school 4 years now, but we had been here for 4 years. And it was about getting the job done. I know when I was recruited out of high school, I came to Carolina to graduate, go to Final Fours, and win a national championship. And I was on track with 2 of those 3. I didn't have my banner. So for me, and I made sure that all my teammates, we were on point to hang a banner my senior year.
So what's the difference in a really good team, maybe even a great team, and a national championship team? Is it work ethic? Is it buy-in? Is it chemistry? Is it all of those things? What was it for you guys that made you different from being real good Final Four caliber to clipping the nets? Because we're seeing that right now with this squad.
I think it's about the buy-in. It's about every day the preparation. We was just at practice and Coach Davis was telling the guys, preparation, it's about now get the best out of today's practice. And that's what it's about. And then the other thing is you got to be healthy going down that stretch. Everyone has to be gelling, playing together. And then you have to believe with the guys in that locker room and the coaching staff, the game plan has to be executed. And the closer you get to the championship game, the less mistakes you have to make. Because when you get to that Final Four, all 4 teams are playing at their best. Of course, they're healthy. They're clicking on all cylinders. And no matter who we played against that 93 year, we believe that the game plan that our coaching staff gave us, and if we executed it, we didn't have to worry about who was on the other side.
I've heard folks say too that when Coach Smith was coaching, it wasn't about y'all doing scouting reports. It was about y'all executing your game plan better than the other team was going to execute theirs, and that's how you won.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we believed in it. We were just talking at breakfast, Matt Winstrom and Salvador brought up the first game of the year. Well, when we was in Hawaii, he was like, man, we about to lose our first game. And Coach Smith came in the huddle and say, we about to win this game. And then Matt Winstrom and Scott Cherry was on the sideline, was like, does he know what he's talking about? We down 9 with 30 seconds. and they said Coach Smith made a believer out of them right there in that game. He made a believer out of me when we played Oklahoma in my freshman year. He drew up the play on both sides. This is what we're going to do. This is how they're going to react. And it happened to a T.
Wizardry.
All the way down to Rick Fox, I want you to ball fake. You're going to get a layup. He ball fake and shot it off the glass, but that was Rick Fox. He had to do it his way. And then going into my senior year, Cincinnati, overtime game, he told Brian Reese,
don't dunk it.
Don't dunk it.
And what happened?
Brian Reese dunked it. Now we got to play extra minutes. So, but those were the things that you have to believe in your preparation and trust in what the coaches are telling you. You have to trust that your teammates are going to come through for you. And that's 1 through Coach Davis has 18 players. So they have to believe in 1 through 18. And then 1 through 18 have to do their part. I think that was the key to the national championship team. Every guy knew what his responsibility was. And to the best of my knowledge, everyone carried out their responsibility.
So you talked about a guy a second ago who was old man on campus when you showed up, and that's the head man now, Hubert Davis. What was Hubert like as a teammate? Because, again, he was the older guy. You talked about the older guys like King Rice and Rick Fox showing you around. Hubert was one of those upperclassmen when you got here. What were those guys like, but more importantly, what was Hubert like then as a player?
The thing about it was everyone had their own personalities. And Coach Smith, later he told us, he said he likes to recruit kids. He wouldn't recruit 5 kids that had the same personality, same area, same background. So Hubert was, he was very religious. And he was kind of quiet, but he was like you could tell his mind was always the competitive side, because all the other guys that was on the team, I don't think he was a McDonald's All-American. I don't think he was highly recruited, but you couldn't tell once we got in practice. He was the best shooter on the team, 3-point shooter, and he could score at all levels. Like Hubert could shoot the 3. Rick could shoot the 3, but not as consistent as Hubert. Nobody else. Hubert was probably the only player on the team my freshman and sophomore year that was shooting the 3-point shot until we got, Dante Calabre on the team. But he could get to the rim when he wanted to. It didn't look as athletic as everybody else, but when he wanted to dunk the ball, he could dunk it. When he wanted to shoot the 3, he could. He had a floater in the lane. He had all 3 levels where everybody else didn't have that to the game. And he was as competitive as anyone else on the team.
That is, talking about Hubert there, I think people have forgotten or maybe shortchanged how good he was at Carolina. He certainly showed it playing in the league for as long as he did. When you look at him, and then you mentioned Dante, and then Donald came in, what do you see in the newer guys or these guys? Caleb Love, R.J. Davis. Do you ever watch later teams, and God, we've got 29 versions of it since we're talking about 30 years ago, but do you see in the new guys or in the current team what you saw, the pieces at least, when you were playing? Are there comparisons there?
Well, when you ask a former player, we are those guys' toughest critics. And and because I'm 30 years removed, I'm probably a little more old school. I got a son who plays at Myers Park, and I'm his toughest critic. And so when I watch our guys, sometimes I don't always see the sacrifice of, I know I can take this shot, but I'm gonna get a better shot for my teammate. So sometimes, and a lot of times, it's good and bad, because I like Love's confidence. But you wouldn't believe how many guys, former players on the group chat was like, man, if I had a chance to take 34 shots. So that was for Carolina players. And you can go back any generational guys, to see guys take 34 shots in a college game. It questions whether if you're playing for your team or you're playing for an individual. Now, I'm not in his practices and I'm not in the locker room. He might felt that he needed to take 34 shots. But sometimes, Baycott should have had 10 of those touches before you take 34 shots. But, we're hoping that these guys can get it together, because at the end of the day, if you don't win a national championship at Carolina, it's a disappointment. It's a disappointment. And that's the standard that we, as former players, hold the current guys. So, and I tell them when I see them, I say, look, man, we're about hanging banners. So, and then, nowadays, these young guys, they got so many people in their ear. They dealing with the NIL. I mean, if I was here playing and we had NIL, it would be hard for me to focus on school and stand focused on the basketball court.
Sure. All right. Let me ask the follow up to the 30+ shots. What would Dean Smith? And I'm not banging on Caleb Love at all. Right. It is what it is, and I don't want people to take it that way.
Different game.
It is a different era. But what would Coach Smith do if George Lynch put up 25, 30 shots in one game? What would you be doing?
What would he pull you? I don't think I could have got enough offensive rebound to take 34 shots, because he did allow me. He said, George, if you get an offensive rebound, you can shoot it. And he said, I don't care where you get the offensive rebound from. So that was my incentive because I also knew that Donald needed his shots. Brian Reese needed his shots. Derek needed his shots. So I was always kind of aware of what my teammates around me, if they were happy when the game was over, were they happy with their shot attempts?
It's an interesting. It has been interesting. Baycott said yesterday in media availability, telling Pete Nance to shoot more. You might as well shoot more. Everybody else is. And so it's just a different way. When you look at, I want to go back to that 93 team a little bit, because one of the games everybody talks about is the Florida State game, the Florida State comeback.
I was there.
It was the one game I did not go to. Y'all cost me a bathroom door. And Highland Hills Apartments, I'm sorry, I'll send a check. If y'all have forgotten, great. But in a game like that, I think it was, 21 points, 10 minutes left. You talked about Coach Smith telling you, this is what's going to happen, and it did. Can you speak to how important it is to have not only confidence in yourself, but have another human being have that confidence in you to be able to perform?
It was a relief because even, after Carolina, leading up to Carolina, I played a lot of basketball and I played for different coaches, and every coach has his own style. Some coaches are drivers and pushers, and you never can get it right. And Coach Smith had that balance of, we're going to keep working until we get it right, but I'm also going to keep encouraging you to play the right way, play within team concept. And if you do it my way, we'll be successful. And it's a lot. It takes a lot for a young kid, even the guys today, to trust in Coach Davis, to trust in everything he's telling them, and then trusting everything that everybody else been telling them, and just finding that balance. Because people don't know, my first year at Carolina, my uncle was telling me to shoot the ball. You need to get more shots. And Coach Smith telling me you can be the best player on the floor without shooting the ball. So, and I came, and I was a high school All-American. I averaged 20-something points and 12 or 13 rebounds.
King of Roanoke.
Yeah. And Mr. Basketball in Virginia. And then you come and a coach say, you can be the best player on the floor for me and not shoot the ball. And for
what are you thinking?
18-year-old,
how do you wrap your head around that?
Well, I'm like, well, I know one thing. I want to play more than I want to sit on the bench and cheer. So it was either listen to the Coach Smith, who's giving out the minutes, well, Coach Guffers was giving out the minutes, but listen to these two guys and play, or listen to my uncle
and sit. Thanks, Uncle. So I want to ask you, I think people forget you were a lottery pick and played an extensive NBA career. If I remember this correctly, last guy to wear the 34 for the Lakers before Shaq.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, your career in the NBA, I mean, you were such a versatile player. North Carolina has a guy that a lot of folks see similarities in you with Leaky Black.
Right.
Do you think Leaky has a future in the NBA with his skill set and his frame? And, you know, his shooting hasn't been the best, but it's been better this year. How do you think he translates to the next level?
I think we have a similar, and I had a conversation with Leaky last year. I said, Leaky, don't worry about scoring the basketball, because he was shooting and he was shooting and he was putting pressure on himself. You could just see it on his body. And I said, Leaky, trust me. You're the only guy on this team, this was last year's team, that can guard 1 through 5. And I said, if you give Coach Davis that trust that I can put Leaky on 1 through 5 if I need to stop, he got to have you out there.
Yep.
And then you're going to just, because you're on the court, a shot going to come your way. And if you continue to put the work in, they're going to fall. Because he was trying to prove to everybody he can shoot the three. And now, this year, he's making 3-point shots.
Looks so much more confident taking it too.
Right. So, and he's going to be much more valuable. If he can defend 1 through 5 this year, make a timely bucket, whether it's a 3, mid-range, layup, they can get back to the national championship game. And then he's got to be willing to, I think he needs to be a little bit more vocal. He needs to be the guy, look, if it ain't going right and someone on that team, like Baycott said, everybody else shooting, they need someone to step up and say, listen, man, if it's to Love, if it's to Davis, if it's to Trimble, if it's to Pete Nash, look, you done took enough shots, or you need to take a shot. Someone has to be able to say that, and don't wait until the biggest game in the moment. You got to say it in practice. You got to say it in these games where there's not as much pressure. There's not the ACC tournament. There's not the, run in the NCAA. You can't wait till the last minute to say it. You got to be willing to say it when it doesn't matter. And that's in practice when Hubert got y'all playing situational and you trying to win a game.
And nobody's watching.
Right. Because then your teammates know it's coming from a good place. It's about winning. And I think as long as all those guys do what they do and it's about winning, good things will happen for this team.
Sure. All right, Tommy, let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll let Nia get some of the questions that we've got. By the way, George, the people in the chat are absolutely loving you today. So you still have some sway amongst Tar Heel Nation. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll take some questions from IC Nation Takeover segment. And we got more to talk about. There is a game this afternoon, and George and his teammates are going to be honored today. So we'll see if we can get his thoughts about that. You're listening to Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.
This is Zach Penalto, and you're listening to Inside Carolina Live.
Come see the all-new Sheraton Chapel Hill, among the first hotels around the world, exemplifying the brand's new vision, creating an environment where guests can enjoy all the familiar comforts of the Sheraton brand, but with fresh, contemporary updates. Reimagined as a hotel's public square, the lobby is an open space for people to enjoy their privacy or be alone amongst others. Guests have everything they need within arm's reach, all set against an inviting, warm, and comfortable, yet refined backdrop. Check out the Sheraton Chapel Hill today.
Hey everyone, it's Erin Matson with UNC Field Hockey. Looking for a new coffee shop? Look no further than People's Coffee in South Durham, right off of I-40. With house-made syrups and signature seasonal drinks, People's Coffee is bound to have something you'll love. Be sure to try my Matson Mocha. And every Monday is Matson Monday. You can get a Matson Mocha for only $5 all day long. Just tell them Erin sent you.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Ask High and Rubish Insurance Agency in Chapel Hill at 919-913-1144 if Auto Owners make sense for you.
Did you know the Casual Pint has a delicious pub food menu paired with local beer? Come see why everyone raves about the best brats in town. Their loaded Sidewinder fries with toppings of your choice are everyone's favorite. Which one will you choose? Their crispy flatbreads will make your mouth water, and oh, the wings. Starting your meal with a large pretzel with beer cheese and ending with a Nightingale ice cream sandwich will surely make your night. All at the Casual Pint, 201 South Elliott Road, Chapel Hill. The Bud Matthews family loves this community, and for over 40 years, they've given back to many charitable organizations in their greater Chapel Hill area. They've also helped people with just about anything in their home or business, specializing in HVAC, electrical, plumbing, sewer septic, appliance repair, design build, and renovations. They look forward to continuing to serve their many longtime customers and welcome new ones too. Call the team at 919-929-0203 or visit budmatthews.com for all your home service needs.
Looking for the best restaurant job in town? First Watch Daytime Cafe at East 54 is hiring servers, table bussers, and hosts. Perfect hours, no nighttime, and plenty of weekend shifts where the work is fast-paced and the wages are more than competitive. Join the professional and friendly staff at First Watch Daytime Cafe at East 54. Apply in person or email manager Paul Foss at fwchapelhill608@gmail.com.
You're listening to Inside Carolina Live with Tommy Ashley and Joey Powell on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL, the flagship station for Tar Heel sports.
Inside Carolina Live. A little slow hand Eric Clapton for you. Look, we're having fun today. We appreciate George Lynch joining us. First lottery pick we've had in the studio. That matters. It's a big day here in Chapel Hill. NC State coming to town, honoring the 93 team. Should be a pretty raucous atmosphere in the Smith Center this afternoon, and George and his teammates will be honored at halftime of that game. So appreciate him making some time while he was back in town. Just got done talking off the air. George is doing, as you guys probably know, watching the broadcast, George is doing analysis for the Hornets TV network now. So you probably get a chance to see him on TV as much. But if you're not used to seeing George on TV, check out the YouTube channel right now. Tommy's got us up and running, and you can see 93 team captain, or one of them. You and Montross, and was Phelps.
It was Roto.
Okay. Because Montross is next year. That's right. I forgot he was a junior that year. So right now we've got the IC Takeover segment where you guys ask questions. I know you guys have been dropping a lot of questions in the chat today too. We appreciate that. This segment, of course, brought to you by Johnny T-Shirt. George, did you go to Johnny T-Shirt when you were in Chapel Hill?
I stayed in Johnny T-Shirts.
Listen,
they didn't give you as much as a discount as the Shrunken Head, but
But you knew about Johnny T-Shirt.
I knew about it.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
I knew about it.
Johnny T-Shirt has been around forever, and they are big supporters of this show. If you need a UNC basketball jersey, look, we talked about the women's basketball squad earlier today because they're on a roll right now. If you want a women's basketball jersey, men's basketball jersey, Johnny T-Shirt is your spot. Hit them up on East Franklin Street in Chapel Hill. If you're a premium subscriber to Inside Carolina, you know you get the extra 10% off the top. You know, George is talking about discounts. We got your 10% on top of their already great prices. Johnny T-Shirt right there on East Franklin. Hit them up while you're in town today for the ball game. They will take care of you. We appreciate them sponsoring this.
And I'll be in there. So you come in there and buy a T-shirt, I'll give you an autograph.
Look at that.
No, he will buy your T-shirt.
Listen to Tommy getting the man's checkbook all strung out already. All right, Nia, hit us with some questions, please, ma'am.
All right, my first question is coming from Lyle Register. So you obviously might have gone through some scoring slumps in your career, whether it was at the Tar Heel or in the league. So Caleb Love, he's going through kind of a scoring slump right now, and he's one of the main contributors for UNC in terms of scoring. So just wanted to ask you, how did you get out of your scoring slumps during your career, and how do you think he can kind of get out of his, hopefully today?
I think what Caleb has to do is all the outside noise, if it's people, family, mom, dad, uncles telling him to shoot the ball, just play the game. He's a good enough player that the ball would find him, his scoring would go up, and he will win. And the so-called NBA guys who know NBA basketball would know that he's making the right decisions. To be a pro, they want to see you make the right decisions at the right time. And if he's taking 15 bad shots, most of the time when you get to an NBA team, you're not going to be the guy.
Right.
So you have to be a George Lynch, a Danny Green, Bullock. If you're not that top 5 pick, you have to find your role, and your role sometimes may be an asset to a team. He has to be an asset to Carolina. He's a threat when he touches the ball. That doesn't mean you have to shoot the ball every time. And it takes the pressure off of him as a player.
For sure. I can definitely agree with that. And just kind of with this game on the line, I mean, this is definitely, I would say, a necessary game winner for North Carolina. So what do you think is kind of the ideal lineup for North Carolina today? I mean, Hubert Davis has explored the kind of 3-guard lineup with Caleb Love, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, and sometimes adding in DeMarco Dunn. So what do you think kind of lineup is the winner for today's game?
I don't think NC State can match up size-wise. So they're going to junk up the game. Mm-hmm. They're going to try to press. I think we just have to be in the right spot at the right time and make plays. Don't be hero, because, the fans going to be there. You got a lot going on. The 93 team is coming in. Just play basketball, make the right play, make the simple play, and we will be successful.
George, you were on a roster with some guys. You've got your name up there. A lot of guys that were on your roster in that 93 squad have their name up there. Somebody asked in the chat, Triad Midas asked, for your perspective on Armando Bacot and his place in program history.
He's already done it. I mean, he has his name in the record books. I think you got to be National Player of the Year or captain of a national championship team. So he has to make sure that he gets the other guys to play the right way. Mm-hmm. Coach Davis and the coaching staff got they got the game plan. They got plenty of experience. Guys have been there, big games. They're going to give them the game plan. He has to make sure, by him being the leader, statesman on that team, that the other guys fall in line. And if they don't fall in line, he needs to check them. And however that may be, if it's a scuffle in the locker room, it's a scuffle in the locker room, and y'all tap and shake hands and get back at
practice.
it.
Yeah.
Right, go back to practice. But it's about winning. And if he wins, like you said, And he come back 30 years from now, he's in the record books. He's won a national championship. He's the captain on the championship. His jersey would be in the Raptors.
You get to come on this show.
If he win a national championship, he's probably more likely going to be National Player of the Year.
Sure.
His number going to be retired. So winning cures it all. And that's got to be his top priority going forward.
Let me ask you, you mentioned scuffles in the locker room. Were there any when you were at Carolina? I mean, you guys seemed pretty cohesive your entire time there. And then, the Dogs and Stack and Sheed came after you were there. But from 90 to 93, tell us about that locker room.
So my first day on campus, I came in with Kenny Harris. A lot of people don't know about Kenny Harris. So it was me and Kenny Harris, two Virginia guys. Mm-hmm. He was a guard, and I was the forward. And then there was King Rice and Rick Fox. And
that's some alphas.
So King Rice and Rick Fox, man, it was crazy because Kenny broke all the records in Virginia scoring. And I was Mr. Basketball in Virginia. And we were two confident guys. But when we played pickup, King and Rick used to kick out you-know-whats for, I would say, at least the first 2 months of being on campus.
Welcome to town, rookie.
And exactly. And Kenny and I used to go back to the dorm room, and we was like, tomorrow is going to be our day.
It changes tomorrow.
Yeah, it changes tomorrow. So it fueled us every day. And then I think there was an instance in the locker room, and King had a nice background. He was a football player. Mm-hmm. But we got in, it wasn't a fight, but it was one of those, big brother, little brother, we're going to wrestle, and we're going to wrestle until someone taps out. So eventually, Kenny and I got the best of Rick and King. And then And then as the years went on, I had 7-footers. I had Montrose, I had Wistrom. And
I had 21 foot of white.
Yeah. And at times, those guys, Wistrom was a wild guy.
Right.
And me and Wistrom had to wrestle. It was really never any punches going, but I had to let everybody know that this was my locker room because I was there. I was there when before you had Kevin Madden, Scott Williams, Rick Fox, King Rice, and you saw how those guys went about their business, and then we was short a Final Four that year. I didn't want that to happen, and I had a conversation with Coach Smith, and he was like, what would you do different? I said, well, we're going to have the toughest running program, conditioning in preseason. We're going to have a year-round weightlifting program because I knew there was guys that didn't like to get in the weight room.
Sure.
And at some point, you got to have some muscle to back that game up. And, Brian didn't like to lift. Derek was from New York. The New York City guys, they were like, man, the weight room, I don't need the weight room.
Yeah, Taylor Ripple, if you're listening, listen to him and say about New York City.
So we had to raise the bar because if it was on paper, we weren't the most talented team or most athletic team, but we had to overcompensate by being prepared, being stronger.
You could outwork them.
Yeah, and we had to have that work ethic to win the games that we won that year.
I got to get in here, and I know we're taking fan questions, but I'm seeing all these questions about the national championship team and the Final Four and all. You guys got there in 91 and then turned around and got back in 93 and finished the deal. How important was it, that 91 experience?
Oh, it was everything because you don't know what it takes until you go through that fire. And then if it had been our first experience at a Final Four and it's the hoopla, the media, you don't know how to manage your day. And then you got family calling for tickets. If you hadn't been through it, you don't know.
Right.
So I think with this year's team, because they made that run, they went through the losses, but it's a different animal now. You got NIL, they got so many more distractions.
Yeah.
The challenge for the coaching staff And the so-called leaders and captains of that team is stay the course.
Right.
And hopefully those guys can stay the course.
Now, this is my last question, and we got to do this again. I mean, we got to have you on a full show to talk about this stuff, but you're in the national championship game and it's counting down, and I wonder how much I would remember if I were actually in it, but watching it, remember everything. They inbounds the ball to Weber. He walks.
Yeah.
And everybody freaked out because he walked and they didn't call it. Did you have any doubt that he was going to wind up in that corner and you guys were going to trap him?
No, I didn't know how to, well, let's take it back. Let's go back to when we lost to him in Hawaii. They didn't have a press offense.
Mm-hmm.
So their weakness was they weren't organized. Mm-hmm. And whether it was discipline or coaching, whoever gets it doesn't matter. So if you go back and watch the tape when we played them in Hawaii, Jalen was always taking the ball out.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up, I just reflected back on my childhood days. I had a cousin, we call him James Gravely. We call him Bobber Brown. Bobber Brown, because he used to cut all the guys' hair my junior and senior year. But he was if he's 5'10", guard, a lot of energy. I should chase him around. So I knew that I could guard 1 through 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I told Derek, I said, listen, man, if Jalen takes it out, we're going to run a 2-man press, just me and you.
So you call that on the fly?
Yeah. So I told Eric, I said, Eric, you go back and protect the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Smith kind of gave me the freedom just to.
You earned it.
He gave me the freedom to gamble because he knew if I gambled, I had a good sense that I was going to make a play. And let Salvador tell it. He said that I just couldn't stay on my man. I had to gamble. But if my teammate needed me to help him defensively, I was going to be there. That's one thing they could count on. Now, making a shot, that's questionable, but they could count on me helping defensively. So Derek and I decided that we were just going to do a 2-man press, and it wasn't really. It was to take time off the clock, and to wear him down.
Make him work.
I had pride in my conditioning that I was in better shape than any college player in that year, 93. So I was just going to work him and turn him. And hopefully, Derek, being Derek, he was going to come up with a steal.
Mm-hmm.
And so once Jalen took it out, they had burnt a couple timeouts before that. And then they did it again. I don't know what coach said to him in the timeout, but they didn't have a press offense. Mm-hmm. He ran up the sideline. And Coach Smith and the coaching staff, Coach Guthridge, field forward, the sidelines was our extra defenders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, once he crossed that half-court line, we knew he couldn't go back. And we just forced him up the sideline, and everybody kind of just reacted. We were up 4 or 3 or 4.
Right.
We were up. And if you were going to take a chance, we were already winning at that point anyway.
That's what people forget.
Yeah.
Because Carolina was already
winning.
Yeah.
So, George, who you like today, man? We got about a minute left before we got to get out of here, and I can't say enough. Everybody loves you being here. We appreciate you being here. Who you like today? You mentioned the working the ball down low against NC State. Give us your last shot at what you think today's going to look like.
I think we're gonna win in double digits. I think it's going to be a convincing win, and I also think that this game is going to help us turn the corner as far as how we play the remainder of the season.
Well, I know from your lips to this audience's ears, I'm sure they absolutely love that. But I want to give a special shout out to George Lynch for joining us today. It's not very often that you get a 93 national champion in studio, so we appreciate that, man. Shout out to Adam Smith for joining us earlier, writer for InsideCarolina.com. Shout out to Matt Krause, play-by-play man for UNC women's basketball. I hope the Lady Heels can continue their success. And again, thanks to all of you who joined us today in the chat, on Twitter, on the message boards. We appreciate it. Tar Heels today favored by 5.5 against NC State at 5 o'clock. Be sure you get there. And if you're going to be in the stadium, be loud. Don't bring anybody wearing red. We'll catch you next time. We appreciate you guys being a part of the show. For Daniel Myrick, for Nia Satterfield Brown, for Tommy Ashley, for George Lynch, I'm just Joey Powell. We'll catch you next time on Inside Carolina Live on 97.9 The Hill, WCHL.